How much time do you spend looking at all the apps on your smartphone? People are spending lots of time, in fact, looking at their screens. And some people, kind of as a backlash, looking for less distraction. They are going old school. They are going retro. And Nisha's here, Nisha Patel, has been looking into this bit of a demand for dumb phones, as opposed to smartphones, obviously, here. I'm not not dumb in inferring that, but this is really interesting. Where is this coming from?
Yeah, you know, this is really interesting. It's what's old is new again, Heather. These dumb phones are also known as feature phones, simple phones. There's also one called a boring phone. These are the basic handsets that really can only do a couple of things: make phone calls, send text messages, and they don't have access to the internet. So there are none of those apps that are, you know, Uber or Apple Pay. You don't have access to any of that. And so the majority of them cost around $100, and you can get them at mall kiosks, on Amazon. There are plans that will charge you about $25 a month to use these, but they seem to be having a moment. Last year, in 2023, in Canada, there were 25% more phones that are dumb phones that were sold compared to the year before. And so we saw that sales drop off as we saw the introduction of the smartphone. Now it's picking up a little bit. This doesn't mean that smartphones are going away. You know, they still make up the overwhelming majority of the phone market. But there are some companies that are looking at this. Nokia is bringing back a model from 20 years ago.
Really?
And so there are all these companies.
Like a full-on flip?
Yeah. And so they saw a surge in demand for these, and they're bringing it back. You know, there's one company called the Light Phone that is actually making a phone that has a black and white screen because they're seeing that there's interest for it.
Because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole and just spend more and more time. Lots of commentary pieces on this. You only have one life to live. Is this really what you want to do with the hours in your day? Is that what's sort of giving rise to this?
I think that's a little bit. You know, these phones have always been popular with seniors, with people who work in trades, but there's a new kind of group that is showing interest in this. People, millennials who have been spending so much time on their phones, and they're looking for a digital detox. You know, on TikTok, there are videos of these dumb phones that are showing up because they kind of reject the idea that we should be constantly connected. And then, Heather, I think parents are a big one. They want to keep track of their kids, but they don't want to expose them to these negative effects of all the apps. I talked to one mom in Toronto who is making the switch. Take a listen to what she had to say.
We don't know what it's going to look like in 30 years when we have kids online for 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day. And so that was in my head still, thinking about like, how do you protect concentration? How do you protect boredom, creativity? And when there's a smartphone or a screen, you don't practice guitar, you know, you don't read a book, you don't just be bored.
And so she got her 13-year-old daughter a flip phone. She's one of the only kids in her school who has it. But this mom said, you know what? I don't want to escape the smartphone. I just want to put it off until she's a little bit older.
You want to know what some of the viewers are saying? Because we've been inviting some questions, or at least some interaction in terms of, would you switch to a dumb phone? Right. So Diane is interesting. She said she never did make the switch to a smartphone. She has a phone that she can text with, but she's going to make the move to a smartphone because everything, caps everything, is done by apps and scanning QR codes. It's almost a must have a smartphone to function, unfortunately, she says. So that kind of speaks as well to the difficulty in weaning oneself off.
Of course, yeah. Everything is online.
It is. Yeah. So here is one from Siva. If it wasn't for work, I'd switch in a snap. Too much work depends on social media, so stuck with it. Someday, I like to get free. This weekend, I unplugged and felt good.
Ah, interesting. Siva's onto something, I think.
The digital detox. Yeah. I like that phrase you mentioned for the young ones. And this is from Bryant, who watches every day. So, Bryant, thank you for doing so. Couldn't agree more. A basic phone would be welcomed. All I want to do is call someone out of necessity or to say hello. Many of the functions are not necessary. It's true. But they are in work situations a lot of times.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think Siva is onto something because I've been thinking a lot about that, this dumb phone weekend. So taking your SIM card and on the weekend switching it to a dumb phone. So you aren't looking at your email all the time, your apps all the time. And you know, when you have kids, you want to be a good role model and
yes.
be present. So I've been thinking a lot about doing that on the weekends as a beginner move.
All right, that sounds really good. Good plan. Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for writing in your opinions and issue. Of course, thank you very much for all of this, and we'll look for more online. There's a piece up at .ca, which is terrific. So Nisha Patel on CBC Morning Live. Thanks for that.